Good morning, everybody. This is Tom at Talent Guitar Works. I'm in a repair facility in Southwest Florida. Port Charlotte is the mailing address. Englewood is kind of where we're at. We're also an OEM builder, and although I haven't built anything in probably a year, we're going to get back into that once this shop is done. The shop is waiting for the metal shell, and then myself and my friend Tim, who's a retired electrician, are going to go in and pre-wire the shop and get it ready for inspection, and then get FPL out here and hook up my power. So we're still looking in the August, September timeframe, and in the meantime, I'm losing weight working in my very hot garage that I really can't air condition. So we're going to endure that. Now, there's nothing wrong with working in a tiny shop. I started out working in a tiny shop, working in tiny spaces and working my way up. And like all good luthiers and techs, I would fill any container that you put me in with stuff. We do that. Flat spaces, we're good at that too. We can put a lot of stuff on flat spaces. So you need a lot of flat spaces, a lot of shelves and stuff if you're a luthier. You need to keep all your equipment on wheels and all that because you're moving it around to get it to where you can work on it and then pushing it back in the corner to store it. So I already did a video about some of the small shop stuff, but it's bringing back a lot of memories working in a small shop again. And I'm able to get stuff done, although there's always that one tool that's packed away that I can't get to. And we're gonna work through it though. So speaking of working through things, I had a customer bring this guitar in this week. And this Squier Stratocaster, it's a really nice guitar, but his complaint was that he heard a clicking sound when he was playing up here from the nut. And he thought it was that the nut slots themselves were misfiled or filed to the wrong size, or there were pieces in there. And this is one thing I always recommend. No matter what material you're making a nut out of, have that thin X-Acto blade there and make sure all the debris is out of that nut slot before you start putting strings in it. I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make, and I made it up until years ago where I was like, this string isn't right, and I cut that nut slot right, and all of a sudden there's a little piece of bone that's sitting there in the bottom of the nut slot that you didn't get out that's creating problems. So nuts and saddles on guitars, besides the frets, create buzzing problems for various reasons. So he was worried about that. He also said he had a little bit of buzz. Now, once I took the nut off, the first thing I did was check the nut slot itself. And I've got the StewMac files, and yes, they're expensive, and yes, they will bleed you dry, but yes, they're necessary, and all the different sizes to file a nut slot flat if I need to. Now, this nut slot, I put a straight edge in and discovered that it was curved. A lot of Fender nut slots are curved. Somebody's typing right now saying, all the Fender nut slots are curved. No, this is an LSR roller nut. These require a flat nut slot. Now, why did Leo Fender design the nut slot as being radiused? Well, it was simple. Underneath the nut slot was the truss rod channel. He did not want to saw into the truss rod channel because the fear was that if the truss rod touched the nut, you would get a buzzing noise. The buzz, again, as I said earlier, in acoustic guitars, you got a buzz on a guitar, saddle or nut. It's one of the two almost every time. That's where you start looking. So this is the flat or almost non-radiused nut blank. This is the correct Fender nut blank for that radiused nut slot. Now, the radius is not the same as the fretboard radius. Fender makes multiple fretboard radiuses. They only make one radius on the nut. And this is the infamous Ingwe Malmsteen brass pre-slotted Fender nut with the radius. So that concludes this portion of our show for nut slots and what not to do. Now remember, the distance from the bottom of the string to the top of the nut has to be within tolerances in order for the guitar to be intonated and play correctly. Even if you intonate the guitar, if you fret the first note and it is not on the E string, say is not an F, you might have a little too high of a nut slot cut, or just the opposite. If you cut the nut slot too low, it's going to lay on the first fret. So I have a video that tells what the tolerances are on the nut set, and it's 0.012, 0.012, 0.014, 0.016, 0.018, and 0.020 going across from, and that was from high E to low E. So take that into consideration if you're going to do your own nut. Now we're going to talk about do-it-yourselfers, because I watched a YouTube video this weekend that was painful. There's a young guy on there that bought a Harley Benton guitar, and he plays in a band, and he upgraded his guitar by putting locking tuners on it. He put a new nut on it. He had somebody do inlay work on the fretboard. He put a new bridge on it. He put Fishman Fluence pickups in it. So he bought an $89 Harley Benton guitar, and he put about $600 worth of parts in it. Well, he took it to Guitar Center and he asked what they would give him for it. And Guitar Center did we have to look at it and we'll call you. And what they meant by that was they were going to take the strings off, and they were going to look at all the solder joints, and they're going to look at all the components and test everything out. And they came back and offered him $90, and he was heartbroken on that. He was like, well, I paid $89 for it. Well, first, let's stop there. You paid $89 for it. Once you took it home, in a realistic world, the guitar is worth $69. It depreciated. Buy a car, drive it off the lot, it's the same thing. It became a used guitar the minute you bought it. It is what it is. I didn't make these rules, but that's what they are. The second thing is, don't outrun your headlights. And what I mean by that is, if your guitar cost you $89 and the first component that you add to the guitar costs $250, you outran your headlights. It's still an $89 guitar, and adding all this stuff to it is not going to make it more valuable, contrary to some people's beliefs. Take a Harley Davidson, put $10,000 worth of chrome on it. When they do the blue book, they don't ask how much chrome's on it. And you're going to lose every bit of money in chrome. You possibly could find the buyer that thinks it's the most beautiful thing they've ever seen, and they have to have it, and it's perfect, and they're going to give you your money for it. Those odds are rare. You're not going to find it. Several things come into play when you bring a guitar in that's been modified to any shop. Unless that shop did the modifications for you, it's not going to work. I'm not telling you not to modify your guitar. If you want to do it, but don't modify it thinking that I'm going to increase the value for it and I'm going to sell it and make money. Not going to happen, Captain. It's not there. We have a guitar market that's glutted with used guitars right now, and most of the guitars in that market are medium to high-end guitars. So we're seeing prices drop on guitars every day. And this started back in December before Christmas. My friend's shop sold out every year of every acoustic guitar before Christmas. They didn't sell one acoustic guitar this year before Christmas. There's a glut in the industry. There are 71 million guitar players in the United States. And that's from a Google search. And it's probably a little bit more than that. It might have been 71.5 million, and I just rounded it down because I thought it might be a little bit exaggerated, but it is what it is. So if you are modifying or if you are building, and I'm not casting shade at all on companies like Stratosphere, which I love Stratosphere, or Warmoth, or any of these other companies that are out there selling kit guitars. Once again, That kit guitar is there for you to enjoy and put together, either by yourself or with friends or with your son or daughter or whoever you're going to build it with, and to enjoy that guitar and take pride in that you assembled that guitar and did it correctly and it was playable. If you think you can assemble those and push them out on the market and sell them for big dollars, that's not the way the world works. Unless there are no guitar shops within 500 miles of you and no internet service, it's not going to happen. And this is another reason why highly modified used guitars don't sell. It may be the best sounding guitar in the world. You can't prove that over the internet. Because you could record a video of saying that's the guitar that was being played, but you're going to have skeptics. You're going to have people going, "It's a deep fake." Well, I don't know. Unless they hold the guitar and they fall in love with it and it talks to them immediately, it's not getting sold. So that's a tough one. So if you do build your own guitar, if you build your custom Warmoth guitar or you build your custom Stratosphere guitar, it's your guitar. Don't think that because you customized it, it's worth, X number of dollars more. It may be just the other way around, that it was worth more in original shape than it would have been had you not modified it. I had a 1976 Stratocaster blonde with the 3-bolt neck that someone had put a Floyd Rose on. And they put the correct Floyd Rose and the correct locking nut that went around the bullet truss rod, but it devalued the guitar. When the guitar could have sold for $7,000, it was worth about $1,200. And, that's just the nature of the beast. It was still worth more than what I paid for it, but you modify something, it's generally going to devalue it. So, stay realistic in what you're doing. Don't outrun your headlights. If you're putting $2,000 of upgrade parts on a guitar, maybe you should put that in the guitar itself. And as always, find the guitar neck that's the most comfortable for you, and that's the guitar you're going to play the longest. And this is from years of crusty experience. So, hope you're having a great week. This is Monday, it's the start of the week. Drink lots of coffee, get to work. Remember, only half of my ideas are any good. You got to decide which half.